Hey guys, Wasser here to do another video over my Ishapore 2A 7.62 by 51mm NATO bolt action rifle. Had the audio cut out halfway through the last video, so I'm having to redo this one. So, got this rifle at the last gun show. Traded my Mosin Nagant M9130 that I put a PU scope on and had the bolt turned down, and my Serbian M70A 9mm pistol, and traded it for this wonderful Ishapore, the Enfield style rifle. Now a bit of history on these. These were developed in the late 1950s as a stopgap measure for the Indian Army until they could issue all their troops with the newly designed FMFAL, or the British L1A1, or self-loading rifle. These were actually built from the ground up to fire the 7.62 by 51mm NATO cartridge. The 7.62 NATO being a lot more powerful than the old 303, which the Indians were used to in their older Enfields. So this is made from stronger steel and just from the ground up to fire that 7.62 NATO. And interestingly enough, this, from what I've heard, these have the butt plate for the F and FAL. These ones are actually made of zinc, which is pretty neat. So this is based off of the Lee Enfield SMLE #1 Mark III. As you can tell, it's got the barrel flush with the end of the gun and the bayonet lug that protrudes out the end and the little notch for which the bayonet slides into. From what I've heard, this actually has the #1 Mark III sight. This is graduated from 0 to 2,000 meters. And like the #3s, this is very solidly built. The sights are protected by these heavy machined wings on the front and rear sight, so that's pretty nice. It has the same old trusty Enfield cock-on closing bolt, which is very fast and is actually pretty nice. And it features a safety where you can operate by your thumb. You pull it back to put it on safe and push it forward to fire. And like the #1 Mark III, it does have a detachable magazine. However, this is made for the 7.62 and not the 303, and is distinguished from the older 303 rifles in that it has a square end. Now on the 2A Ishapores, they had a standard 10-round magazine, but on the later 2A1s, they actually put a 12-round magazine in there, which is pretty cool. Now, like the Enfield, even though the magazine is detachable, it's meant to be used with stripper clips. And this one, you can either use your standard 5-round or 10-round NATO stripper clips. However, when using the 10-round clips, you have to only load 5 at a time. If you try and jam all 10 down in there at one time, it's not going to work. Actually, I have some 5-round stripper clips right here. I don't have any ammo yet, but I can just show how it functions. Now, these are kind of weird for me. I'm used to the spring steel Mosin Nagant type stripper clips. These are more of the Mauser style. It's got a little spring in there, and you have your stripper clip guide right here. You just slide it in there, and then you strip the round off. You do 1, and then 2. You have to remove the stripper clip on this model, whereas the Mausers, you can just close the bolt and it'll eject it out of there. Now on this rifle, it's pretty easy to field strip. To remove the bolt, all you have to do is push the bolt back, and then this little piece right here flips up and the bolt just slides right out. So it's pretty simple. I think to remove the bolt, you have to have the firing pin decocked, which is just pretty simple. And I saw cool videos on how to decock this. You can either, one method is to hold the trigger back, and then you can just close the bolt. Another method is to hold the striker back and then pull the trigger. And I forget the last method. And on these rifles, these were meant to take the P1907 sword type bayonets versus the later spike type bayonets used on the number 4 Mark 1s. I'm actually in the process of getting one of those, and it's going to be really cool. Those bayonets, I think, are about 12 inches or more. It's just a big, giant blade versus a little 6-inch spike on the number 4 Mark 1s. And I just have to say, this rifle is in fantastic condition. Just the quality of construction is outstanding. The wood just has a really nice feel to it. I don't actually know what kind it is, but it's just very, very nice. And then that Enfield system, that cock-on closing, is pretty neat, coming from a Mosin Nagant, which is a standard cock-on opening. Just very, very quick. And then I love the 10-round magazine. It's just 10 rounds. That's just a lot in a bolt-action rifle. And hopefully maybe I can get one of the 2A1 magazines. I'll be able to have 12 rounds. And like I said before, this is a 2A, not a 2A1. The 2A1s actually have a purpose-built sight for the 7.62 by 51mm NATO. And from what I've read, the 2As just have a recycled number 1 Mark III sight graduated to 1,000 meters. Well, if it's not graduated, or if it's not set up to take into account the 7.62 NATO, I wonder actually how accurate this sight will be. And the sight is my only real complaint on this rifle. I've seen some of the sights on the older Enfields, like the number 1 Mark IIs and Mark IIIs, the earlier ones. Like just a very elaborate sighting system. Well, not elaborate. It has a nice ring sight that just goes really well with the front sight. And I'm a little bit disappointed, but maybe it's not so bad. It just seems a little hard for me to acquire versus the Mosin Nagant. And just this is an extremely, extremely solid rifle. It's about 10.5 pounds, a little bit heavier than most of the bolt-action rifles you'll find out there, which weigh in around 9 or 9.5. But it's still a very good, solid rifle, especially if you want to butt stroke someone with it. So just the only things I have to get now are waiting for my blade bayonet and for my ammunition. And I also got a sling for this, because actually this one did not come with the sling, so I'm waiting on that too. So hope you guys like this little video. And I might take the other one down, I might not, but it's just, I'm really stoked about this. On one more thing about this rifle. These are actually still in service with the Indian police forces, and they're still used as a drill rifle, which is pretty remarkable for the Lee Enfield system, having been introduced in the late 19th century and is still in service today, along with the Mosin Nagant. So these rifles were actually still issued into the 1970s for frontline troops, alongside the FN/FAL, until sufficient stocks could be procured. So this is the last purpose-built bolt-action frontline rifle in regular service. So that's interesting little tidbit of information. So, well, hope you guys like this little video. Please make sure to comment and subscribe.